Picture a forest, 6 million years ago. The trees are thinning. The ground is calling. And somewhere in that landscape, a creature is about to make a decision that will define everything you are. It doesn't know it yet, but its hips are about to change. Its spine is about to curve. And in doing so, it will set off a chain reaction that leads, eventually, to you. Why did this happen? Why did our ancestors stand up? For a long time, scientists believed walking on two legs began on the open savanna. The story was simple. Forests shrank, grasslands spread, and our ancestors stood up to see over tall grass and spot predators. It was a clean narrative. It made sense. And for decades, almost everyone believed it. But then, the fossils started telling a different story. In 1994, a research team led by Tim White discovered the remains of Ardipithecus ramidus in Ethiopia. This creature lived roughly 4.4 million years ago, and it wasn't living on a grassland at all. It was living in a woodland. The pelvis of Ardipithecus showed signs of upright walking, but its feet still had a grasping big toe, perfect for climbing trees. This wasn't a creature choosing between two worlds. It was living in both at once. So the savanna theory began to crack. Could the answer be something else entirely? Something less about survival and more about energy? In 2007, researchers Michael Sokol, David Reichlin, and Herman Poncer published a study comparing the energy costs of chimpanzee movement to human walking. Chimpanzees move on 4 limbs, but they can also walk upright for short bursts. The team measured oxygen consumption in both modes. The result was striking. Walking upright on 2 legs used significantly less energy than moving on all 4s. For a creature living in a world where every calorie mattered, this difference could mean survival. It could mean the difference between finding food and starving. Energy efficiency. That's a powerful motivator, but efficiency alone doesn't explain everything. Why would a tree-dwelling primate take that first step away from branches at all? Some researchers point to something even more fundamental. Climate. Around 5 to 7 million years ago, the climate in East Africa was shifting. Forests were becoming patchier. Trees were spaced further apart. If you lived in a world where food sources were scattered, you needed to travel between them efficiently. Walking upright let you cover more ground using less energy. It let you carry things, food, tools, even infants. Think about that for a moment. A mother carrying her child while gathering food. 2 free hands changed everything. Around 3.6 million years ago, a creature called Australopithecus afarensis was walking across what is now Tanzania. We know this because of footprints. Actual footprints, preserved in volcanic ash, discovered at a site called Laetoli. These footprints show a heel strike, a weight transfer through the foot, a big toe aligned with the others, not splayed out like an ape's. This was walking. Real, modern walking. Millions of years before anything we'd recognize as human. But here's where it gets even more interesting. The famous fossil known as Lucy, discovered in 1974, belonged to this same species. Her skeleton revealed a pelvis shaped for bipedal walking, but her arms were still long, still suited for climbing. Lucy was a creature caught between 2 worlds, walking on the ground, sleeping in the trees. What would it have felt like to be her? To stand upright for the first time, looking out over a landscape your ancestors never saw from this height? There's another theory worth considering, one that has nothing to do with food or climate at all. It's about temperature. Researchers have proposed that standing upright reduces the amount of direct sunlight hitting your body. If you're standing rather than on all 4s, less of your body surface faces the sun directly overhead. This means less heat absorption, less risk of overheating. For a creature living near the equator, in open or semi-open habitats, this could matter enormously. Staying cool meant staying active longer during the day. It meant being able to forage when other animals retreated to shade. So maybe it wasn't one single reason. Maybe it was several pressures, arriving together each pushing in the same direction: energy efficiency, food scarcity, temperature regulation, carrying offspring and resources. All of these forces converging on a single outcome: standing up. But walking upright came with a cost, a serious one. The pelvis had to narrow to support an upright frame. This made childbirth more difficult. Human babies are born less developed than almost any other primate, partly because of this anatomical trade-off. A narrower pelvis meant babies had to be born earlier, before their brains grew too large to pass through. This is why human infants are so helpless at birth, why they need years of care before they can survive alone. Bipedalism didn't just change how we moved. It changed how we were born, how we were raised, how long childhood lasted. Did our ancestors know what they were trading? Of course not. Evolution doesn't plan. It responds. But the consequences rippled outward across millions of years. Walking upright freed the hands. Free hands could carry tools. Carrying tools meant tools could be carried further, used more often, refined over generations. Some researchers argue this is where the foundations of technology began. Not with fire, not with language, but with 2 feet on the ground and 2 hands suddenly available for something else. Around 2 million years ago, species like Homo erectus show skeletons built for long-distance walking and even running. Longer legs, shorter arms, a body shaped like ours. This was a creature built to travel, and travel it did. Homo erectus fossils have been found as far as Georgia, in Eurasia, and across parts of Asia. This was the first hominin species to leave Africa in significant numbers. 2 legs took us across continents. Think about how far that journey really was. Generation after generation, walking a little further than the last. No maps, no destination, just movement. Was it curiosity? Necessity? Probably both. What's remarkable is how recent some of these discoveries are. The Ardipithecus findings were published less than 30 years ago. The energy efficiency study came out less than 20 years ago. Our understanding of why we walk upright is still being written, even now. Every few years, a new fossil, a new footprint, a new study reshapes the story slightly. Science doesn't deliver a final answer. It delivers a better question. And the question keeps coming back to this. What does it mean that the way you move through the world right now, the simple act of walking from one room to another, carries the fingerprints of 6 million years of trial and error? Every step you take engages muscles and joints shaped by ancestors who never saw a paved road, never wore shoes, never imagined a world like yours. Your spine's curve, the arch of your foot, the way your hips rotate slightly with each stride. All of it, inherited. All of it, the result of countless small adjustments across an almost incomprehensible span of time. You don't think about any of this when you walk to get a glass of water. But you are living proof of one of the most consequential transitions in the history of life on Earth. So the next time you're walking somewhere, anywhere, pause for a second. Feel your weight shift from heel to toe. Feel your arms swing slightly at your sides, a remnant of 4-limbed movement that your body still echoes. You are not just walking, you are the result of millions of years of forests thinning, climates shifting, and creatures deciding, step by step, without ever knowing it, to stand up and see what was out there. And somewhere, in a forest that no longer exists, that decision is still being made. Every single time you take a step.